Record. Now we're recording and we're here. This is the debate for Council District 31. So welcome everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to Politics NY with Sky. Schneps Media is the only media outlet providing a platform for every single New York City Council candidate to have their voice heard and faces and personalities seen. That's what we're doing here. So District 31 Queens, currently held by Selvina Brooks Powers, who is invited to join us. And if she shows up, then we'll have her as part of the conversation. She won this seat in a special election. I actually spoke to Donovan Richards this morning. So it was his seat, District 31, and then Selvina won in the special election, and he won Queensborough president in a special election. And now he's with a primary and she's with a primary. So that's how the system works. I've been doing 3 questions in 3 minutes. So you guys haven't been part of that, Nicole or Nancy.
First time.
We'll have to, get you on that 3 questions in 3 minutes. So this forum tonight will be fast and fun. And with just 2 of you, we can really get into whatever issues the 2 of you really want to highlight and really talk about why you're running. And the purpose of this is really to show the voters who you are and, make a case for yourself. Why should they vote for you? So this is being recorded, and the recording of this debate will be on politicsny.com/debates with the rest of our debates. And the neighborhoods in District 31, so everyone knows, are Arverne, Brookville, Edgemere, Laurelton, Springfield Gardens, and Far Rockaway. So let's dive into it with these 2 candidates here. And we will start with Nancy Martinez, just because she was here first. And we will, Nancy, give us, your elevator pitch. Who are you and why are you running? What makes you passionate about your district?
My name is Nancy Martinez. Actually, I'm running due to the fact that I'm very passionate. It's been my neighborhood, 31st District, for over 40 years. I think way over 40 years, but and I own a business and I own a property and a home and a building in the Rockaways. Pretty much I've been very active in the community, and the reason I'm running is because I see all the hardship that we've been going through, especially with the epidemic, since I'm in healthcare. And a lot of the merchants have asked me to run because due to the fact that I'm also chair of Rockaway East Merchants Association for United Energy. So I've been in the forefront of this pandemic, and I've been part of my community for quite some time, advocating for a lot of issues that haven't been taken care of. So, I hear the voices of the community, and it's not only me being part of the community, it's concerning to me as a business owner, as a property owner, as a tax-paying citizen, to see, that our neighborhoods are safe. We have a crime rate that is ridiculously going up. Every day across the street from my school, there is things happening that I don't like to see. And that's one of the reasons why I'm running.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. And let's hear from Nicole Lee.
Hi, sorry. I had to tell my son to go upstairs. He's special needs. Everybody doesn't know. I'm a special needs advocate. So basically, thank you for having me, Sky, on this evening's candidates debate. It's my first debate. Nancy and I did run this special together, and now we're both on the primary seat. I am excited to be 3 women running for this seat. I think this is the first time in history that this was 3 women that's running for the seat, for the primary. So thank you again for having me. If you guys don't know, my name is Nicole Lee. I'm an entrepreneur for over 20 years, specializing in building business and community. My platform intentions are to provide small business owners with appropriate funding, creating jobs. Also, I have healthcare reform on the top of my list, providing adequate and attainable healthcare for all the people in the 31st District. Also, police reform is a part of my platform, reforming, allocating funds from the NYPD to appropriate places. I'm a special needs advocate. My son is 17 years old. I started my businesses around him, providing wraparound services for that. Also, education system. Our education system is pretty suffering, especially with the whole pandemic, virtual learning, people are behind. I'm trying to restructure our education system by providing more trades and programs back into our school system so our children can have a fighting chance to actually compete in today's workforce by providing coding, electrician, nursing, extracurricular activities. A part of the police reform that I have, actually, one of the goals are to allocate funds from certain departments like the DHS, the DOE, and the traffic policing. By taking all of those entities and putting them back into the Department of Education, Department of Transportation, and Department of Health, Homeless Services. So if I take those three entities and put them back into those departments, that would free up money for our school system to put them into certain programs that we need, or also, training, like training for special needs, policing, harsh policing, and basically trying to get auxiliary police into our neighborhood to make sure that our community feels safe. Another issue that I had in reference to healthcare, like I said, we don't have enough hospitals in our district. So my plan is to bring more healthcare and more hospitals and at least urgent cares into our areas, because COVID-19 actually showed us how weak our healthcare system was. We didn't have enough beds or equipment needed for our district. So I'm running because I'm the community. I'm here for the community. I'm a special needs advocate. I'm a community activist. I've been bringing resources here for the past 20 years. And I think that it's time for change. So that's the main reasons why I'm running.
Okay, thank you. Now, you both talked about small business. So there's just two of you. So we can get into all the issues. I know you mentioned police reform and your thoughts on that. So we can really touch on all these things, healthcare. Let's start with the small businesses. And Nancy, let's hear from you about small business. So you're both business owners?
Yes.
So let's decide, tell the voters how your plans are different, right? That's what we want to get down to. So Nancy, let's hear your plan for small business recovery in the district. And then Nicole, you can jump in or chime in, or we'll make it like a little bit of a conversation.
No problem.
Absolutely, nice. Well, being an entrepreneur and being chair of Rockaway East Merchant Association for United Synergy, is, basically is small business. And the thing is that small business come in such a wide range, whether it's the pizzeria owner, the dry cleaners, the allied health agency, is so broad, and that's our mom and pop. That's what makes America. And it's a shame to see, especially through the pandemic, but I've been advocating way before the pandemic, because of the problem is that on the 31st district, there has been some true challenges for the small businesses, and it has been a lot of issues that have been unfair to the small businesses, starting from Sandy Storm. We are in a district that is surrounded by water, a lot of the businesses there. So there's a lot of issues that we have to grasp upon. But right now, meaning through the pandemic, I believe that small businesses, in order for them to replenish, they need grants. And I've been advocating for grants for the last year, since the beginning of this pandemic. They don't need loans. They're going to need grants to become and to be able to hire individuals to get their business back afloat. I mean, you could see a lot of the small businesses have been shut down for a whole year. And, when it comes to the rent, the commercial property rent is high. The taxes are high, and a lot of our moms and pop businesses don't have the administration skills that they need to have. A lot of them, they say, "Oh, I'm going to open up a laundromat." They take their savings and then they go open up the laundromat, and guess what? They fail to realize that they have to have financial statements in order. They have to have their taxes in order. So there's a lot of issues that needs to be addressed when it comes to small businesses. Me starting as a small business, I learned so many different things, you got to be careful with signing a lease. I try to be, well, I didn't try, I did accomplish to become a MWBE, a WBE. I apply for everything, but guess what? A lot of small businesses don't get that far to make even doing the application and getting approved. And also, MWBE doesn't have money for certain businesses. They only allocate for certain things, whether it's housekeeping or security. Let's say for myself, I never got anything in the last 10 years that I've been an MWBE when it comes to education, because I'm in education. It's been so challenging, every step of the way, all the different obstacles that come your way. So you have to be, you have to have a full force to go ahead. So I am advocating for grants, make sure they get to the businesses that is needed. And also in the 31st district, it's like on the downtown area in the Rockaways, there's such a massive construction development going on that they didn't consider not once the small mom and pop shops there. And they should have considered them, and they should have had given them some sort of grants even before the pandemic due to the inconvenience.
Yeah.
So,
So yeah, what do we do, Nicole? What's the next step? Taking these problems into consideration.
My like I said, I'm a small business owner for over 20 years, different facets. I have a nonprofit for special needs families. I have a beauty salon, it's like a Medi Spa, specialize in child and adult care. Also, we also have an LLC where we help small business owners acquire funding and a proper paperwork. My plan is a little different. Like I said, COVID-19 has really crippled the small businesses. So I plan to reform and restructure by providing different forms of funding, like crowdfunding, grants, opening our own chain of commerce. That's another idea that I have that I would like to bring to the 31st district. We have a lot of small business owners here. Mentorship programs, providing the resources, business line of credit, things that a lot of people don't know that they can get, and it'll help with the overhead, providing workspaces to help with the brick and mortar costs that you have to pay out your own pocket. During COVID, I had 3 overheads to pay, and that was my household plus my brick and mortar overheads, and it was very expensive. And doing business the right way, I thought I had 6 months saving, emergency plan, and that wasn't enough, because within 3 months with 3 overheads, if you're paying $5,000 or $3,000 here, then you're depleting your savings. So showing people how to take what you have with credit and also applying what you need with other services or with other businesses, where other people funding, using other people's money to make money. So just acquiring and getting these resources back to our community from what I've learned being an entrepreneur for over 20 years and doing business not only in 31st district, but from state to state, bringing that here. I think if we have and we build each other up, we're creating more jobs, gentrification, I'm all for that, but making sure that the community has a place here as well. So that would be my plan, just to have more startups and more funding for the small businesses so we can grow. Because right now, half of the businesses are closed because they can't afford to reopen. One of my businesses, I can't afford to go back into the brick and mortar because I had to fire half of my staff. It wasn't affordable for me. So, and a lot of business owners are suffering for the same thing. The PPP, you get $20,000. That's not a lot if your overhead is $4,000 a month. So you're basically just spending that on top of for the rent. What about the healthcare? What about the costs? What about your employees? What about paying yourself? So you have to have resources for them other than this PPP that a lot of people didn't even get. So that's my plan, to rebuild and restructure the 31st district and beyond. And I think that once we get that knowledge and education, that we can grow our generational wealth.
Nancy, any other comments or thoughts or response to the small business topic? And then we can move on to the next topic. You're on mute, Nancy. Oops, you're muted.
When it comes to small business, we really have to keep it in the forefront, because America needs small businesses to get back on track. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to run, because I know how it is to be a small business. I know how it is to create companies. I know about the healthcare needs. I am also the founder of Rockaway Adult Social Center for seniors. And a lot of the things that the issues that we've been having with small businesses is very difficult. It's very difficult to maintain your rent, to, you know, and to get help because they don't know how to structure themselves first. When they start opening businesses, we need to guide them and show them how to stay afloat and how to make sure that they have a good structure ground, you know, so it won't be so weak.
Okay. Yeah, it's a problem for everyone in all the districts, right? And everywhere. So now let's talk about healthcare. You want to talk about healthcare? So, or you not really want to talk? You want to talk about
Yeah, we can
We
talk about
talk about healthcare. I'm in healthcare. She's in healthcare.
okay, healthcare. So how do your plans, each of you talk about your plans for healthcare and how they're different from one another or why your plan would be the best? Tell the voters.
Okay, well, my plan and goal is just to provide more workers. I feel like we have one hospital in the Rockaways. We used to have two. Peninsula Hospital was closed some years ago. It's not enough for one hospital. COVID-19 actually showed that. Like I said, we didn't have enough beds or equipment. Even before COVID-19, people go outside of the district to different hospitals so they can get adequate care. I feel like we need to have more training for our healthcare providers. We need they have more of these urgent cares that's out, and that's fine. But after urgent care, then where do you go? They only do a certain amount of things. So I feel like we need to have more adequate health care for that. Rosedale, Springfield, and Laurelton, I think their closest hospital is outside of their district. I believe Rockaway is the only one who has a hospital in the district. Jamaica Hospital, or I believe the island, is closer to them. So what about that? We have land to build. If you're building all of these new houses and buildings, you can build another hospital that can be adequate enough for District 31. Our nursing homes are suffering. We need more health care for our elderly. COVID-19 also showed that we couldn't even go inside the nursing homes, and some of these patients weren't getting the vaccinations or getting in proper medication. We need to have either college students coming in from abroad to help us with staffing issues. The funding that they built for St. John's, they put a lot of equipment in there, but they should have put more money towards training for the physicians so they can be up to par with what's going on today. So that will be my plan for the healthcare system. I'm a resident of District 31, and St. John's is my closest hospital, and I go all the way to Long Island to get treated if it's an emergency, because I don't feel comfortable. And I'm not the only one who does that. I'm only maybe 15 minutes away from the hospital. So I'm sure if we put more money into our systems, that we would be more comfortable going to our nearby hospitals.
Mm-hmm. Nancy, your thoughts?
Well, I took my savings and I opened up an allied health school here in the Rockaways because there was no vocational training whatsoever going on. And I've already trained over 20,000 individuals in the last 10 years that I've been here. And it feels good because it's like a give and take business. When you see, you know, all kind of nationality, we train in Mandarin, English, Spanish, Russian, and they become tax-paying citizens. And this is what we need. We need to make sure that they become productive citizens, not depending on taxpayers' dollars. So I feel good about training over 20,000 individuals as far as I've been here. I'm also starting a new school soon in Brooklyn. But when it comes to allied health, I've been in the forefront of this pandemic, and I have seen how hard it has been for all the losses that we have had. I personally lost my mom in July, and I've lost so many different friends. And we provide caretakers to the nursing homes, assisted livings, the home care agency, but we were not prepared for this pandemic. New York City was not prepared for this pandemic. We need to make sure that we put health first. And I will definitely be a strong advocate to see how we could better our healthcare system, especially here in the Rockaway. We have one hospital that they're threatening to close. We already lost Peninsula Hospital. And now we have St. John Hospital. That's the only hospital in the peninsula. Now, if you are all the way up the beach by Breezy Point, you know, that's the only hospital to come down. And with all the crime that I have seen going on in the 31st district, especially across the street for where, you know, I try to open up and flourish a vocational training that we have individuals. You see the shooting in the 70s. We need a trauma hospital here. We don't need to be threatening to shut down the hospital. We need St. John's to become a bigger hospital and a trauma center hospital because the district needs it. And this pandemic has been a true awakening to the whole New York City. We were not prepared. We couldn't even have the PPP masks when it first started. So healthcare is definitely my priority. Small business is definitely my priority to get New York back to where it belongs. But we need to be in the forefront so we don't go through this. Who's to say we don't have another COVID-19, COVID-20 coming up soon? We need to be prepared with our hospital system. We need to take care of our seniors and our children. Look what happened with the school system. And it's all pertained to healthcare. Our healthcare has to be number one priority.
Right. Yeah.
I want to chime in. Yeah, I know you have like a CNA is your certifications that you give your clients, right, Nancy?
CNA, home health aid in 5 different languages, phlebotomy, KG, barbering. It's a vocational training school,
Yeah.
not like health.
I'm talking about more of healthcare practitioners. More when I was in high school, I went to Far Rock High School. They actually had a nursing program where we came out with our nurse assistant license. We had half the day where we did schoolwork, and then the other half we did internships in hospitals and nursing homes. We need to bring that back. So straight out of high school, you have a career and you can go into RN. They're kind of discontinuing LPNs, but then maybe you can be an actual doctor. So we can have more training for those type of jobs in our community. We have lack of resources for that, and that's very important. As far as a trauma center, I think the closest one that we have is Jamaica Hospital. I would try to lessen the crime before we build a trauma center or hospital in our district. It's important, yes, but Jamaica Hospital is only 15 minutes away. It's not that far with the ambulance or car. So I think that if we try to train our society, our community better, or bring those resources here with the additional hospital in our district, that we can try to change the healthcare system just in a whole.
Yeah. And now we can go into, public safety and policing is something that you touched on, and it does fall into healthcare. I mean, education does too. We could talk about really any of these issues. But my question as I'm sitting here talking to you guys is what's the big difference, right, between the current councilwoman, right, the incumbent, what she's doing? Is she not paying attention to certain issues that you've mentioned when it comes to small business and healthcare? Are you running because your plans are very different from what she has been offering or promises to offer the community?
I guess I'll go first. To be honest, throughout the whole special election, I haven't really heard her plan. I haven't heard a plan exactly what she planned to do with healthcare or school system or anything else. Respectfully, politics is changing in a big dramatic way. The people are tired of politicians giving false promises and having all the backing and all the endorsements and still doing the same thing. So respectfully speaking, I don't want to tear any woman down, but I haven't heard her plan, to be honest. I don't know where her plan is. All I've seen was her picture on cleanups, and I was on some other forums, and I haven't heard a specific plan. It's literally taking what was done before and redoing that. So I just say to the people in District 31, if you want something different, then you need to research every candidate and look at our platform and our plans and see what we've done. Because I've been doing work here for over 20 years and not just putting my name on a project. I actually create and build projects for myself and my community. So you have to look and see exactly what we bring to the table, and if you can come behind that. I'm actually structuring a new economic reform called Renegade Revolutionaries, where we're bringing more job opportunities and building more leaders in our community. And that's something that it takes a certain type of person to do that and create that. So I just feel like I haven't really heard her plan. Hopefully we will see that plan soon and have her execute it. But I'm all about execution. And I think that my life is living proof of that.
Nancy, do you have any comments on the incumbent councilwoman and her plans versus your idea of what should happen?
Well, the reason why I decided to run is because we need a change from what's been in the past. Like Nicole Lee says, it's time for a change. It's sometimes, I feel that the voters should have done their research to see who they were voting for, because we had so many candidates on the special election, but none of the, I don't know, I was to say to myself, I didn't get a interview by other individuals who endorsed Ms. Brooks, which, she got the votes. So we can't say, she got the votes, she won. But I've been pretty much involved in the community. And I'd be honest with you, I know just pretty much everybody who's been activating and doing for their community. And I haven't had the privilege of knowing her that way, or knowing what she has brought to the table. I know that I have, brought an adult social center, a vocational training school, train over 20,000 individuals. I am second vice chair to the Joseph Adabo Health Center. I am on the community board 14. I am chair of Rockaway's Merchant Association, which I got their 501c3, and I got them a $900,000 grant. I've been sanitizing the small businesses through the whole pandemic. I've been replenishing the healthcare workers through the whole pandemic. So I've been pretty much out there. And I'm also doing a bid formation for the downtown area in Rockaways, because for years they never had one. And that's unacceptable. So how did she get all those endorsements from all the elected officials? Is a blessing to her. But, I believe that if the voters need a change, I'm there to give a change, but I can't say what she's doing or what she has not done, because she's only been a few months in,
Right.
and we yet to see.
Okay. So we're talking about different ideas and changes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think all of us were new to politics. She ran before against Donovan, and I believe Paysac ran also before, but the other seven were first timers running for that seat, and it was a lot of us. So even with that, working for government doesn't really give you a foot in the door. I believe you have to earn the seat. And hopefully, we had a low voter turnout for the special election. The weather was bad. I represent most of the special needs community. They couldn't even get out to vote. So hopefully this year, by giving voter empowerment, letting people know that your voice does matter, and it has to be heard, is something that we're trying to push for this primary election, and know that politics aren't liars, that we're really here trying to make a change for you. A lot of persuasion when we went door knocking and speaking to the people. And it was kind of disheartening that people really lost hope in the community and politicians. And I'm trying to bring that back, because I feel like I am the community. So if I can bring resources in this district from the level I am now, imagine what I can do in office for you. And that's exactly what I go by. They see what I've done, they see what I've built, and I stand on my reputation.
How do you get people excited about politics? Now I'm going a little off script, but when you talk about low voter turnout, we saw it in the special elections in the Bronx too, very low voter turnout. How do we get excited, get your neighborhood and your community? How do you get them out to vote? What's your plan on your campaign to really get people to vote this year?
I think you just have to be innovative, to be honest, and have real conversations. I've been having conversations about Black Panthers, about conspiracy theories, about, what we can do next, and really try to gear them to knowing, okay, what happened in Atlanta with Stacey Abrams bringing all these people? If you think your voice didn't matter, then how come they turned around? So just bringing facts to the table, I think gets people more excited and give them something to look forward to as well. This is why I'm doing these leadership workshops, and to educate them on local politics and why it's important to vote, to be a part of their community. Because when you have a building that's being built up the block from you and you don't even know why, that's a problem. So just educating them is my plan, to get a higher voter turnout, going door to door, being in the community, speaking to them face to face is something. It's a really a hard task, to be honest, but it needs to be done. Just bringing empowerment back to local politics, especially in the 31st district.
Mhm. And Nancy, I know you said you know a lot of the people in the community. Do you think you know all the voters? How many voters are in the community?
This was my first time running, and I have had relationship with a lot of the stakeholders in the community, district leaders, politicians, you name it, because I've been pretty much active community board, chairs of a few non-for-profits. But depending on where you live at, I never worked for an elected official.
Mhm.
So this 31st district is very broad. It's like one side of the peninsula is a whole different world in the Rockaways, as to where in St. Albans is a whole different world. And it's like a special election was for us to get the county or Democratic Party to find one candidate out of the special election to endorse. Um, Certain things I don't even want to say, but the thing is that I felt that it was not fair for the special election to all the candidates that participated in without an interview of elected officials, or I mean, everybody has the right to select and endorse whoever they choose to, but get to know the other candidates. The other candidates bring a lot, including myself. I bring a lot to the table. And if I'm taking time, it's because I care genuinely for the community. I've never worked for an elected official, so I don't know certain district. They know the meetings, they've been here, but that's their job. They representing that elected official. It's not like they open up a business or they gave the community something, or they there to better the community. They there doing a job and they getting paid a salary. We have to eventually, if we want things to change, voters have to weigh out the differences here. They have to vote for who they feel that is the right choice, not because someone tells them vote for this or vote for that. I love my churches and my synagogues and everything, but every individual needs to vote for who they think is the right one, not the one that the pastor or the church or this one tells you to vote for. You are your own head, your own leader. Each head is a world. You are your own person. You need to make your choice. And that is the only way we're going to make a change here.
Yeah, I agree. You have to meet the people. And that's part of why Schneps Media, PoliticsNY, why we're doing this, to bring your personalities to the table. Because as you know, in years past, before the virus, it was easier to get out there and have conversations, shake hands and hug people and talk to people at different events in the community. But there wasn't really any of that this year. So this is the platform to really showcase who you actually are, because I know you mentioned you can go to your website and look at your policies, and it gets confusing, right? It's like you need an Excel spreadsheet to compare everyone's information. So that's why I like to have these conversations, so people can get like more of a feel for who you are and make a decision that way.
Yeah, I think it is definitely important to have these forums. I would rather face to face. I think I get the energy of the room different.
Right.
Yeah, you can kind of present yourself differently. But this is the new norm now. The whole Zooms and Google Classrooms and Google Meets and everything like that. So we're trying to get acclimated to this new system. I'm an 80s baby, so I'm still, I don't know if I'm considered X or whatever, but I'm still getting used to it. I like the face-to-face, in-person communication style. That's just who I am as a person. Just like Nancy was saying, the different areas in the district, like Rosedale and Springfield, Laurelton, they have one of the highest small business areas there, and they need to focus on that as well. Just like Rockaway, we just have different infrastructure issues. We have flooding issues. Rosedale has flooding issues as well. So each part you have to kind of focus on something different. But in all of those areas, I think the education system is lacking, and that's what we need to really put more focus into, is our education, our youth. Our youth is our future, providing them access to programs, like I said, like coding, electrician programs. These are high tech things that are happening that our children are not prepared for. And we need to get them in gear so they can be prepared and be competitive in today's society. I have 3 children. 2 of them are more, my son is special needs, he's autistic. I had to get him an extra tutor just to stay on target when he was homeschooling. And now he's in a private school, doing great now, but it was a lot of pressure for me doing 3 different levels of schoolwork, and I'm sure, and then having to do my own work and manage my own businesses. A lot of families are suffering with that today, even still. One of my children go to a charter school, and they've been closed the whole pandemic. The other 2 are in school now full time with the mask restrictions, but the other one she's been suffering from, I guess it can be a form of depression. You never know, because these children are in the house by themselves for 8 hours, or even with a tutor. It's still different than being outside with your peers. So mental health is a big issue that we have to focus on with our youth today. And a lot of people are against therapy, but I think that we need to implement that in free therapy for our children. A lot of people, to be honest, a lot of people that I know, especially in the Black and brown communities, they are against therapy. They feel that it's, for crazy people or whatever, but it's not. And it's a real true thing. I think that everyone needs therapy now, not only children. Yeah, exactly. Like, we have to maintain a sense of balance and mental health for our children, because it not only affected us, but it affected them as well. They miss their friends. They miss going outside. They're missing prom. They're missing the basic life necessities that we had. We never had to stay home 8 hours a day on a computer, So I'm trying to be sympathetic to them. Like, did you do your work? Did you do this? But I think that we do youth, make them stronger, make them adaptable to today's society. And I feel like they're very behind. Our education system is failing our children. And if we focus more on that, then who knows what can happen.
Yep, I know.
Yeah.
Nancy, you want to?
I agree totally. That's why I say that healthcare has to be number one.
Yeah.
We've been all gone through some trauma. This has been emotionally
Traumatic.
devastating for the whole world, and and especially our children. If we ourselves are feeling the way that we're feeling, I mean, I come from a Hispanic, we love to embrace and hug and kiss, and we can't do that no more. You know what I mean? So it's really hard, and that's why I said healthcare has to come first all around, so our children could go back and function correctly in the school environment, so our seniors don't feel scared to come out, so we could come and become productive at the workplace. Healthcare has to come first, and then we have to get our small businesses on track.
Yeah.
And we need to prepare for any future epidemic that might come our way. Any future, not only do we have um, epidemics and crises coming, but we also have the environment. We have to watch Mother Nature, because we have abused this world in so many different ways that we have to be prepared. It's like, I'm a single mom, so you always got to have your little money to the side just in case. So we have to have things on the side just in case, to make sure that, if something should happen, hey, we could take care of, our country, New York City, our district. You know, you can't say, oh, I'm going to promise to give you this. I'm going to promise to give you millions. I'm going to promise to give you that. How about if we're in a deficit? So how are you going to make promises that you probably can't keep? Let's get realistic here. And the reason is that we have to get creative with our new school system that will work for our children, because apparently the past hasn't been working. So maybe this is a rude awakening for us to restructure our whole education system. You know, our Black and brown children, you know, they need to learn how to read by the time they, you know, they're in third grade. And a lot of them are, you know, third graders are probably reading, some of them reading better than our high school kids. We need to restructure our education system. We need to look in our deep, like we have been a rude awakening with our healthcare system. We were not prepared for this. You know, we didn't even have the equipment. When we're such a dominant country, we didn't even have the equipment.
Right.
You know, so this has to, this is the opportunity for voters to come out and vote for a person or an individual that really cares for the community, that's really going to make a change. It's not there just for the salary or because they owe favors to this one. It's there because they want to make a difference.
Mhm.
And they have to, you know, look and see what this person is bringing to the table. You know, these are serious issues that we're going through right now. And you can't say, oh, if I'm elected, I'm going to promise this. You don't know what kind of money you're going to have. So, you know, if you're depending on that money, then to me, you're not a powerful politician or leader, because a leader have to find resources in every other area. If you don't have that, then you got to find a way to find it.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, did you want to add something to
Sorry.
that?
Yeah, I just was gonna say, just basically chiming what she was saying about it's really about restructuring the budget, seeing where you can take from one entity to another. Even with the housing situation, we have evictions at an all-time high right now. People are losing their homes, they don't have jobs. Homeowners, they're losing rent. They're not getting the appropriate rent that they need. Just structuring and trying to find affordable, attainable housing for everyone in District 31 is very important. I plan on bringing more awareness and resources for that, to not only rent to own options, but affordable first time home buyer options that are here, but giving them more resources for that, the new developments that are being built, make sure that we have a high percentage of affordable low income housing for them, because they're basically pushing the community out. You building the high rise buildings with $2,000 a month, and you could barely afford it to live here in your own community. So basically trying to build up our society where we can buy into our own community and live freely and live comfortably is something that we should be really looking at. The whole rent relief, they need to have a mortgage relief as well, at least put it towards the back end, because if you're going to give homeowners or renters a year or 6 months not to pay, then what about the mortgage to the people that own that home, or or that building? You have to have some type of relief for them, because then it's going to be a revolving cycle where it's debt on top of debt. So if we can forgive that, then we need to forgive those mortgage loans as well. So it's just about uplifting the community and building it to a stronger generational wealth.
Any other comments, Nancy, on that topic?
Well, you know, now that we're getting into the housing sector here, I'm
I know. Let me just first say that we have 8 minutes left together.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. There's so many issues to cover, and this is
It's
great.
a lot
I've
of
never done one
issues.
where it's just two people. Normally, it's like a ton of candidates, and we can only get through like a round of introductions and a round of questions, and that's it. So this has really been fantastic. Let's dive into housing, or let's dive into public safety. We can do all that in just a few minutes, and then you can give concluding thoughts to your voters. Or my favorite question is asking you what you think is your superpower. So maybe think about that in the back of your mind, and we can conclude with that. But you want to talk about housing? Talk about housing.
Housing. I believe that when you become a homeowner, that's you know, that builds wealth. That builds, you know, wealth. You know, it takes you to a whole different level. I believe that if we find some sort of way for individuals to become homeowners, that would be such a helpful thing to better New York City. Now, the issue that we're having in part of the 31st district is that a lot of shelters are coming into place. I'm for affordable housing, but I'm not for shelters. I believe that instead of spending all that money on a shelter, give somebody the apartment already, because children that are going through the shelter system is suffering. Seniors that are going through the shelter system is suffering because they don't feel safe
Wait, so
in
you
these
are
shelters.
against homeless shelters?
Hmm?
Yes.
You're against homeless shelters.
Well, I think that if a person is going to be in a shelter, it has to be for a certain period of time. Now,
What?
some people are in shelters for over 2 years.
But
So
then what should happen? Then we should give them a house? Because
no, not a house. They should be in an affordable apartment that they could sustain themselves. But we're spending a lot of money on shelters, a lot of money. These shelters should be converted into apartments or find land somewhere that the city owns and build apartments, affordable apartments for individuals. But the shelter system is being manipulated in some sort of way. It's just too much money, too much city money going into these shelters. And individuals, there's so much crime going on, and the kids don't have an area where they feel that is a home base for them. So, getting affordable housing is fine. But the thing is, I see that in a lot of sectors, especially the 31st district, it's like they are clustered in one area. It's clustered in one single area. Let's spread it out. It's like, let's say, for instance, for example, the downtown Far Rockaway area. You have two shelters that, first of all, they never communicated with the community that it was coming up. So the crime rate has gone extremely high. Second of all, there's like 3 or 4 more coming in, and it's all clustered in one area. So now you have affordable housing, which is going to be another 10,000 units in that downtown area.
Mhm.
So, that balance just don't seem right. It has to be balanced a little better than this. So how long should a person be in a shelter system?
Let's
I
see
think
How
what-
long should a person be in a shelter system? Because I've heard stories, I don't quote me, I don't know, but I hear stories that individuals have been in the shelter system for over 2 years and still waiting for an apartment.
Nicole, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm not against the shelters. I think that people have to have a place to go, but I am against the process, how it happened. Those shelters that she's talking about in downtown Far Rockaway were hotels at first, and it just was an awkward place to place a hotel. So eventually those hotels turned into shelters. I think that it has to be restructured to actually give these people training and a trade to be able to afford a apartment versus the city paying a certain percentage of the apartment. You can't just put them in these housing situations and don't give them anything to do, because then now the small business owners are complaining that they're walking on the streets, they're loitering, in front of their areas. So it doesn't create a good flow for downtown area, especially when they're trying to restructure it. But I'm not against it at all. I think that you have to have a place for people to go, and not only criminals go to shelters. There are people who are teachers or, families are in shelters who really need help because they're getting evicted. But the system has to change. We need more workers. We need more programs for them to go into so they can acquire a job and be able to have a sustainable lifestyle. So it's all about how to do it. 2 years is way too long to be in a shelter. And especially, I represent the special needs community as well. They have an even harder time to get adequate education and housing and help and jobs. So this is recreating the wheel. What do we do with these people who need housing or jobs? You create them, you get outside entities. I'm a great resourcer. I have resources from everywhere and I bring them here. I even go to Atlanta to help them with their things. So it's all about resources and restructuring and revamping the will. But I'm not against it. I'm against it in one area, but I do believe they were speaking about these these shelters in like the community board meetings, but a lot of community does not go to the board meetings. And like I said, it was a little done under the table, but some of the topics are being said at some of these meetings. But I'm not against shelters at all.
Where in your mind or in your platform does the money come from to do some of these services that you mentioned and to provide more workers and more services and training? Because it's a great idea, but where does the money come from?
Mm-hmm.
So like I had an idea with reforming, I don't like defunding, reforming the police and taking certain, the DOE or DOH or the transportation, those officers from under NYPD, which can allocate some money for other resources and other funding. And even with the whole shelter issue, you can get nonprofits to help with certain things and certain programs. I have plenty of people and friends that I know who have nonprofits that have trades, and you bring them into the system, you give them trading, you give them certificates, you give them housing. It's all about how you use your resources. And you can look in the budget and see what's needed and what's not, and how we can move around the funds. So I think it's all about budgeting,
Right,
to be honest.
right. But this is the whole issue here. It's the administration. Administration hasn't been done accurately when it comes to disbursement of the funding. And I didn't say I was against shelter, but I'm against being shelter for 2 years. That becomes a permanent housing.
Mhm.
And that shelter becomes permanent housing. Now, what happens to the child that is in there? Did they get the Wi-Fi? Did they get to go to school this year? There's a whole lot of issues. There's a whole lot of broad issues. And I believe that if the monies would have been administered properly into different agencies the right way, and equally shared during depending on the issues on hand, then when we be going through this, because the whole thing is that a non-for-profit could train or whatever and give you a certificate, but they cannot provide you with the job placement. There's a lot of non-for-profits that say, I train here, I train there, but see, let's say for instance, my business is a vocational training school. It's licensed by BPSS. That means that I issue a certification with Department of Health, Department of Education, and then I have job placement assistant, which I am affiliated with all the agencies to provide that job placement assistant. But what happens? Not everybody is entitled to that because of the background check, because of fingerprinting. So let's get real here. We're never going to fix the problem unless we discuss the problem, discuss the issue, not to be afraid of the issue on hand, because it is an issue when you're taking one neighborhood sector because they don't vote in that sector and you're clustering them with a whole bunch of issues that is not correct and properly when people have invested their monies in homes and businesses, and that's taking that for granted. And then in other sectors, because you know that they're going to vote, you're more delicate about it. Let's get real here. Let's talk about the facts here, because this is the issue that a lot of elected officials don't want to discuss because they're afraid they're going to not get their votes. Let's talk about the issues that New York City have. We have an issue when it comes to shelters. We have an issue when it comes to housing.
Right.
We have an issue when we're manipulating certain neighborhoods and clustering them and bringing more violence into the neighborhood, and then running our homeowners and our children's school to the ground. If you're going to develop over 20,000 units, develop some schools in the district. So we need a council person who's going to advocate, who's going to speak the truth to the constituents, not hide the truth behind trying to get a little bit politically correct. No, let's speak the truth, because we feel the truth as business owners, as taxpayers, as homeowners, as commercial owners. We're feeling the wrath of what's going on around us. Now, we could go into the police reform. You know, I think Nicole and I have dealt with every issue here on hand.
Time is over now.
Yeah, I know. Look, the time
know?
is up, 6:02. We're 2 minutes over. So let's just give everyone your final, like, one word or 2 words or phrase that you want to leave voters with that represents you in your campaign, Nicole.
If you want change, vote Leave for Change.
Great. Nancy?
If you want the truth, the fact, and change, Nancy is your candidate for city council.
Thank you both. Thank you, ladies, so much for being part of this, the Council District 31 debate on behalf of Schneps Media and Politics NY. It'll be on our website, the recording. Follow us on social media, subscribe to our newsletter, and we are the only media outlet providing a place for every single candidate to have their voices heard and faces seen, regardless of the amount of money that they raise and regardless of anything. If you're on the ballot, you deserve to be put out there in front of the community, and that's what we're doing. So thank you so much for your time. Good luck
Thank
to you,
you for having me.
your audience, and we'll see you next time.
Thank
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.